how else to put it, except for, quite frankly, I am extremely pissed right now. That's the best way that I can actually start this video off, is that I'm pissed off. And I'm going to tell you why I'm pissed off. Now look, I've tried making this type of video for a while now. Probably, I almost want to say for a good solid 4 or 5 months now. I've been wanting to talk about this very specific topic, ever since the entire Microsoft Activision Blizzard shit went through. First-person shooters are in a very rough spot at the moment, and when I say first-person shooters, I specifically mean online first-person shooters. So, there have been a multitude of times where I've tried to talk about this specific company / investment firm, and I don't know if I've ever actually put out a video in which I name them, but I know in multiple different videos that I have never ever uploaded, I have definitely talked about them, and that is Embracer Group. You see, I have a bit of a well, not even a hate-hate relationship, more so of a seething contemptful relationship with Embracer Group. So, if you don't know what Embracer Group is, right, imagine Tencent but smaller. And if you don't know what Tencent is, it's an investment firm that just kind of buys up as much stuff as it can, squeezes out as much dough as possible, and then tosses them in the trash like a used condom, right? It's a very similar type of thing. And Embracer Group, well, let me give some context, right? So, a bunch of studios have been closing down under Embracer Group. Recently, the two that have closed down were Free Radical Studios, which were the people who made Time Splitters back in the day, and they were working on a new project recently, and New World Interactive, also known as the Insurgency Sandstorm developers. Now, from my understanding, there was a $2 billion investment that they got shorted, right? Essentially, they played themselves and then got screwed out of an investment, which then caused them to start laying off and restructuring their company to a point in which multiple people have just lost their jobs entirely at this point. Like, it's just become very, very unsustainable for the general developer within any sort of company that is owned by Embracer Group. So, when I say that these companies like to bleed their developers dry, let me explain something, right? So, going to Tencent, we have a game that I like to call Fortnite. Now, Fortnite is owned by Epic Games, which is 40% owned by Tencent. And have you seen the amount of manpower that goes into that game on a regular basis? It's quite ridiculous in some cases. And I would almost argue that it's so ridiculous at some points that multiple people have left Epic Games repeatedly, right? Epic Games just kind of bleeds developers and then regains new developers, and then bleeds developers, and then regains new developers. And a lot of companies under Embracer are kind of doing the same thing, but in a very different way, right? So let's take a look at Insurgency Sandstorm. If you take a look at Insurgency Sandstorm, it's got multiple bundles of cosmetics, right? It's got so many ugly cosmetic bundles that just kind of exist, and some of them aren't even too terribly ugly, but some of them are pretty egregious. Anyways, look, each bundle costs basically about $5 a bundle. So you have about $5 a bundle, right? And you have a game that is about $30. And at that point, right, it's already a red flag to be selling a game for $30 and then have microtransactions, but I don't know, New COD did it, so it's kinda cool, I guess. And this is specifically to make sure that the profit margin at Embracer Group stays stable. That's all Embracer really cares about. It only really cares about its own profit margin. And New World Interactive, well, sure, I think that they can be a little bit, like, scummy at times. It's very clear that they at least cared about the game that they were developing At least more so than a bunch of executive higher-ups at some random-ass investment firm. And not even just random, like, executives. I'm also talking about boards of investors. Now look, I get it. Everybody shits on EA and Activision and all these other companies. Look, Embracer, right? Embracer is like all of the worst aspects of all these other companies put together, maybe with a little bit less sexual harassment, but who knows? That just kind of happens in big corporate structures. Look, the point that I'm trying to get at is that all of the greedy practices everybody complains about are exponentially escalated when talking about Embracer, and then when you talk about Embracer and Tencent, then everything is exponentially grown from Embracer to Tencent, right? So things just get way, way, way worse over time. It's kind of nuts to see what happens when, like, when a big corpo just kind of takes over something that was good and something that people enjoyed at one point, right? Fortnite was very promising, and to be honest, look, I still do play Fortnite from time to time, and I just recently reinstalled it, but that doesn't mean that I like Epic Games, and that doesn't mean that I like Tencent. I'm basically only playing it because I know people who play it and who have a good time playing it. Now, look, I am currently in a very odd position, right? A lot of the games that I very much love are being mismanaged or mishandled by a bunch of random corporate executives that probably, actually not even probably, that I could almost probably guarantee that they don't have any sort of game dev experience whatsoever, right? So, look, and you might be wondering, well, Techmo, you probably don't have any game dev experience at all. Wrong, right? Wrong. There was at one point where I was working on an RTS game that I'm not going to get too into the details on that because that's a story for another time. And I used to make a whole bunch of community content for Gary's Mod. You could probably still find that on my Steam page. And on top of that, I'm currently working on a first-person shooter right now as we speak, right? I have game dev experience. Sure, it's not amazing game dev experience, but I at least know what goes into making something, and I've talked to developers firsthand as to what actually gets done when making a game, and how do you make a game fun. And so I look at all of this, right? I look at all of this, and it's like, I see somebody grab a piece of art, right? And just rip the soul out of it. Imagine the following, right? You have the Mona Lisa or the Screaming Man, and somebody decides, okay, well now I'm going to put the Mona Lisa and the Screaming Man behind a paywall. But not only am I going to put it behind a paywall, after about 6 years or so, I'm gonna burn the Mona Lisa. And nobody will be able to look at it ever again. But I made my money because I put the Mona Lisa behind the paywall. That's fucked up. Anybody would look at that and say, that is absolutely just despicable. Not even despicable. It's an indescribable level of evil towards creativity. I don't really think that I need to talk about Halo Infinite or any other of like game that Microsoft currently owns. Or COD, because now Microsoft owns COD. I'm really fucking fed up with all of these random hedge fund managers and all these random, like, investment companies just picking up games and destroying them without really thinking about any of the implications that this has for anybody. And not just for anybody, but for everything that goes into game dev. Nobody likes these investment firms. They are literally a plague on our planet. Nobody likes these random-ass hedge fund managers. They are a complete plague on our planet. Nobody likes these big companies anymore. I think it's time that we just start developing indie. Fuck this, man. Stop playing COD. I'm begging you, please stop playing these games that are owned by multi-billion-dollar corpos or multi-million-dollar corpos. Like, we need to just find a way to just not make these companies any more money, right? If you find out that a dev studio is owned by Embracer or Tencent, walk away like it's the plague, because it is. Now look, it's not just people who play games that are aware of this, the devs are even aware of this. You take a look through any of like Insurgency Sandstorm's communities like pages on Discord or Reddit or Twitter, and they're talking about this. Look, this is a screen cap from Blue Drake's recent video, right? Something that kind of fueled the flames of me making this video and actually putting it out there. Look at this. Look. This is a dev of Insurgency Sandstorm talking about his game that he loved, that he put a lot of time into developing, that other developers did too. Look at this. This is what we're dealing with. This is insane. Look, damn it! Look, I'm furious about all of this. Developers being abused is already bad enough. That's already something that gets me fuming. But when it's a developer that's being abused by a mega corporation that has no experience in game development, then that's where I fly off the rails. There's a reason I have had 8 different videos that I've never uploaded talking about this very subject. Look, if you want to make a difference, play indie FPS games. Or play FPS games that have genuine community managers and people that are working to try to provide fresh content, right? Or people who just care about keeping a game alive. Or better yet, become a game dev yourself. That idea that you have, that you want to make, is valuable. I don't care what engine it's in. I don't care if it's Unreal Engine. I don't care if it's Unity. I don't care if it's Raw C. I don't care if it's anything. Make a game. Put it out there. Have people play it. Because my God, things are just getting worse, man. But there is still a little bit of hope. At least I think that there's a little bit of hope. Just go indie, and if you go AAA, try not to spend any money past the barrier of entry for even getting into the game. And in some cases, don't even do that. The new Modern Warfare 3, look at that price tag, say, ugh, and then leave. Leave! Don't look at that. Instead, look at something like Quake. Or look at something like, I would say Insurgency Sandstorm, but no. You can't even do that. Just look for something else. Try a game like Iron Sight. It's free, and even though it's got some shady microtransactions, you can play without the microtransactions just fine. Just, please, play something that isn't some bullshit AAA standard game. Evade COD. Evade all of these other big name titles. Unless you know that they're being managed by a community of people. Now, this is about the end of the video right here. I'm going to explain a couple of things. One, I have a job. Sure, fine, whatever. That impedes my work schedule for these types of videos. And two, I am also not on caffeine anymore, right? I haven't been drinking too many caffeinated beverages within the last couple of weeks, and it does make me a little bit antsy, so if I'm a lot more expressive in this video than most of my other videos, that's why. Part of it is also because I'm fed up and I'm also not having my normal dose of caffeine. Look, I just want things to get better. That's all. I really want things to get better. I feel like for the longest time, I've just been watching my favorite video game genre just wither away. I love first-person shooters. First-person shooters are my bread and butter. First-person shooters, and I know this is going to sound absolutely pathetic, but first-person shooters are what made me like the games that I like. First-person shooters are what made me want to become a game developer. First-person shooters inspired me to become a very creative individual when it comes to talking about politically nuanced and politically charged topics. First-person shooters are what got me here. First-person shooters, I, again, know this is going to sound pathetic, they're my life. They are my bread and butter. I love first-person shooter games, and watching my favorite genre be bastardized to this point, it hurts, man. It really fucking hurts. Not only this, but like the elimination of the Unreal series, the crazy stuff that happened with the Halo series, the fact that COD is unplayable on older versions and the newer versions are kind of balls, the fact that Insurgency is dead, it hurts me. The fact that it took 5 years for, no, not 5, close to, what, 4 years for Titanfall to get fixed? It's irritating, man. It's irritating. Now look, if you liked this video, do like, comment, and subscribe, as it really does help out my channel. And it really, really means a lot to me that people actually sit down and listen to my messages, whether they're driving to work or whether they're actively playing a game while listening to my video. You matter. I'll see you in the next one. Techmo, out!